Hey guys, hope you are all having a great day today. Today's video is going to be little different than usual. It is not going to cover the market nor talk about the housing estate. Instead, it will be a much more economical approach to the intensification of retail bifurcation. We are going to talk about how inflation is pinching shoppers with modest incomes but how only affluent consumers are the ones boosting entertainment revenue. It will be a heavily economics predominant video, but I assure you that it will be extreme eye-opening, fun and easy to understand, so let's get started. I want to credit JLL, Forbes and Deloitte for their insights and discoveries, which I will be covering and using to drive home my points. Time seems to be a very weird these days. We seem to be stuck in a very different place than we were a year ago. Though last December the markets were beginning to weaken, the main sentiment was bullish. People were optimistic about the economy and inflation and long-term recovery in general, but now, 12 months later, it seems like last year was so distant ago. GDP has declined in the first and second quarters after a pronounced growth in 2021. Consumer confidence is down roughly 2% from August 20, 21. Prices are also higher on most products and services. Everyone dreads CPI releases in fears of mounting evidence suggesting an inability for governments and banks to control inflation. The price of gas, transportation and food stay even at best and increase at its worst. With Americans spending over 25% more on fueling and 11% more on buying groceries than they did just 12 months ago, there has been considerable trepidation in consumer outlook and a shifting of spending. Retail sales have managed to stay afloat, rising nominal most months this year and slightly eking out the effects of inflation with 9.1% year-over-year growth in August. Inflation is not having a uniform impact, and that's pretty much the main point of this video. Low and middle income earners are much more greatly impacted than high earners, and as a result of that, there has been a shift away from some discretionary spending towards necessities and a move to discount retailers which sell these goods. For example, Costco and grocery outlets saw strong growth in comp sales, while discretionary discounters like Kohl's and Burlington saw comps decline in their last quarter. In direct comparison, premium retailers are seeing robust growth in sales. Lululemon's second quarter earnings soared 25%, and luxury retail conglomerate Capri Holdings, which is the owner of Michael Kors, Versace and Jimmy Choo, saw revenue climb 8.5% year-over-year. Americans want what they always have. We want to go out, dine at restaurants, work out in person, meet out with friends, head to the beach on a sunny Saturday, go to the movies and play video games. Nothing about Americans' preferences for pleasure have changed, which is a direct rebuttal to the corporate media's constant love to blame changing market dynamics on millennials. Still, spending on performing arts rose over 86% from quarter 2 of 2021 to quarter 2 of 2022. Accommodation, movie and amusement park revenues all rose over 30% year-over-year. We have witnessed by being AMC shareholders how enthusiasm and interest in movie theaters have increased month over month. So in many respects, things on paper seem to be normal, but there is this sixth sense warning us that something is off, something is wrong, even when these reports say otherwise, and it is only by looking deeper at the changes happening that we begin to see what the real deal is. For months, we have heard about how the retail industry, in particular the traditional store, is on the verge of collapse. The retail industry, even with good numbers, seems to always be making headlines about going through an existential crisis. The situation, after reading through detailed in-depth studies, is much more nuanced than that. Current economic conditions and technological advances have influenced consumer behaviors so that the debate is no longer simple online versus in-store. Instead, income is the main key we need to talk about today. Balanced retailers, which deliver value through a combination of price and promotion, are generally doing worse than either price-based retailers, which deliver value by selling at the lowest possible prices, or premier retailers, which deliver value via premier or highly differentiated product and experience offerings. Specifically speaking, premium retailers have seen their revenues soar 81% over the last 5 years, while price-based retailers have seen their revenues steadily increase 37% over the same time. This contrasts sharply with the balanced retailers, whose revenue has increased only 2%. What's more, consumers are more likely to recommend premier or price-based retailers than balanced, suggesting that retailers at either end of the spectrum are more in tune with the changing needs and are better at meeting the expectations of consumers than those in the middle. You might ask yourself, why is there a perception of a retail apocalypse if the stores at the extremes are doing so well, which include many traditional brick-and-mortar retailers? One possibility is that store classed among balanced retailers, which account for the majority of closures and bankruptcies, are driving this perception, and it makes total sense. However, the real answer all lies in income. It is an abysmal period for most Americans. For the past 10 years, the lower 40% income group has found itself struggling to keep up with expenses while the middle 40% has seen its income shrink. This, for 80% of consumers, the last decade has generally represented a dramatic worsening of their financial situation. Income and net worth gains are disproportionately going to the highest income group. Moreover, the data shows that not only has the income level of the lower cohort been stagnant, the share of their income spent on non-discretionary categories has skyrocketed. Healthcare costs have risen 62%, education has risen 41%, food has risen 17% and housing risen 12%. These increases have hit the lowest income group the hardest. Basic necessities now, for the first time in a decade, take up more than 100% of a low-income family's budget. What this means for traditional retailers is that there is a greater competition for discretionary dollars. For the 80% of shoppers who face strained budgets with limited disposable income, price sensitivity is paramount. These consumers may think twice about buying a new pair of slack and thus may be drawn more to price-based retailers. Economic considerations based on their own perceptions and realities of financial well-being profoundly affect consumer spending behaviors across channels and categories. The studies conducted by Deloitte found that the likelihood of making an online purchase versus buying in a store is highly correlated to income. Low-income consumers are 44% more likely than their wealthier counterparts to shop at discount retailers and also more likely to shop at supermarkets, convenience stores and department stores. High-income consumers are 52% more likely to shop online. When looking at millennials in particular in the studies conducted, they are often lumped all together and portrayed as the source of disruption to everything from gold to dating to retail. Their behaviors are commonly listed as being addicted to their smartphones and shopping only online, spending on experiences and not goods and driving massive shifts in category spend. However, the analysis conducted by Deloitte showed consumer behavior is based more on income rather than generational differences. Below-income and middle-income millennial consumers behave very much in line with the other members of their income cohort. Instead, high-income millennials were the ones that were actually skewing the average behavior of the millennial group overall. So, as you guys can see, to put everything we just discussed plainly and easy, the main driving force behind this apparent retail apocalypse is a series of various factors. On one side, we see that retailers who appeal to consumers for expensive branding or cheap products are doing phenomenal. The ones struggling seem to be the retailers appealing to middle pricing, which does resonate because when we look at the American class system, the middle class seems to be shrinking. Most of middle-class people are choosing to buy the bulk of items in cheap stores, whereas rich people have become so rich that they are not only buying rich stuff, but buying in huge amounts. I do not know if you guys paid any attention, but have you noticed how the concept of having super yachts became a thing? This is because in the recent years, the rich accumulated trillions of dollars and they are bored with the stockpiles of money they have. So you get expensive retail companies making bank because they rich are bored and coping with that through retail therapy shopping, and the poor people, the low-income class which is growing, are all flocking rapidly to the best low-price retailers, which is why companies like the dollar store have been doing so well. The retail apocalypse has been a narrative that has been oversold by the media, blaming it on millennials in great part, because they haven't done their job to study the real underlying reasons why companies like Macy's are struggling. Many of the stores that have gone bankrupt could be considered balanced retailers, which are the pawns that deliver value through a combination of price and promotion. Furthermore, deeper research illustrated it was high-income millennials within the millennial cohort alone that were the ones skewing up the average behavior in the research. This makes sense, as other age demographics show the rich people always being the ones skewing numbers for the average as well. A lot has changed in the past 12 months. Many companies have gone bankrupt and the media has not been subtle or shy to blame a significant amount of that on millennials. The real reason why they are doing this is because they are looking to find a scapegoat to hide the real cause of bankruptcies, which is people are no longer making enough money to afford the things that were normal. There has been no significant shift in the way Americans like to spend their leisure times, so the next time you see the media blaming any demographic for the closing of theaters or a restaurant chain, think back to the realities of the world and remember that America is doing an amazing job at killing off the middle class and making the vast majority of people poor. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you on the next video. Join my Discord and let me know what you thought of this video here on YouTube down in the comments below. To the moon.